The next step in our wiring activity is to wire our outlet. When we're wiring an outlet, we need to pay attention to the color of the wire and the color of the screws on the outlet. We need to make sure that remember that the white neutral wire goes to our silver screw. We need to make sure that our black hot wire goes to our brass screw, and we need to make sure that our bare copper wire goes to our ground screw. There are many different ways to wire an outlet. We're going to go ahead and wire our outlet in parallel. To wire our outlet in parallel, we're going to have both the incoming wire and the outgoing wire get connected with pigtails, meaning that we're going to have one pigtail for black, one pigtail for white, and one pigtail for our bare copper wire. We're going to be wiring the outlet in parallel, so in case something happens to this outlet, electricity will still flow to the other devices at the end of the electrical wire. Let's go ahead and let's get started. So we're starting with our outlet, and we have two wires coming out of the box. We're going to go ahead, like we've done before, and use our wire strippers and go ahead and strip the sheathing away from each ends coming out of the box. Once we have the sheathing removed, we have to go ahead and strip off the insulation from those wires. Now, we're not going to be putting a curl on these wires because these are going to be getting connected with a wire nut. All right, the only wire that we have to go ahead and put a curl on is going to be for the pigtails. Now, remember, like we talked about before, you don't want to strip off too much insulation because we're going to go ahead and bury these wires in a wire nut. So, as we've made pigtails before, we find a small piece of wire. We go ahead and remove some of the extra wire from it, and we have to make 3 pigtails, one for white, one for black, and one for ground. Once I have those pieces out, I'm going to go ahead and strip both ends. One end is going to get attached to the in and out wires with a wire nut. The other end is going to go ahead and get curled, just like we did with our switch. We need to make sure that our white wire is attached to the silver screw. We want to also make sure that we are wrapping our wire around clockwise, like we did for our switch. Once we have the white wire done, we go ahead and do the same thing on the black wire, making sure we're wrapping the wire around clockwise. Okay, once our pigtails are done, we are now going to go attach this to the in and out coming wires. And just like we did for our switch, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the right size wire nut, correct size wire nut. We're going to go ahead and take our wires. We're going to make sure they match together at the ends. We're going to attach our wire nut to the tip of those 2 wires, give it a spin, and we're going to wait for those wires to braid. Once our wires braid, we're good to go. We want to make sure that there's no bare copper wire being exposed at the end of that wire nut. We'll go ahead and do the same thing to all of the white wires, making sure the ends of those wires line up. Attach our wire nut until the wire goes ahead and curls. And then we do the same thing with our bare copper wire. Okay, now the tricky thing is getting all these wires back in the box and making sure that those wire nuts stayed secured. Some electricians will actually take some electrical tape and they'll actually go ahead and wrap the outlet with just one quick roll of electrical tape, which just helps prevent any type of loose wire touching any of the other wires inside the box. We'll put that in the box, and whether or not you have it going this way or this way is up to you. Just stay consistent with your home. All right, you give it a try.